let's go on to the rest of the album reviews then.
We're just going to go in chronological order.
Yeah, so we'll start with Me Rex.
Do you want me to start off?
Well, since you were telling me about ordering the the record on vinyl earlier, then yes, I might as well let you start.
Yeah. So, Megabear by Me Rex. It was released on the 18th of June on Big Scary Monsters. It's approximately 31 minutes and 42 seconds long, so just over 31 minutes, or just over half an hour. As far as I'm aware, it's the band's first full-length studio album. However, they have released several extended play records in the past, most recent of which was Triceratops/Stegosaurus, which was released on the 27th of October last year. And I think all of the extended plays are in some way related to dinosaurs or prehistoric animals of some description. I think there's one called Woolly Mammoth, if my memory serves me correctly. I think there is one about a T-Rex or something, or a Tyrannosaur or something like that.
Well, I mean, the name has got Rex. The name of the band has got Rex in it as well, so, you know.
Yeah, so according to their website, Me-Rex was started as somewhat of a solo project by London-based singer-songwriter Miles McCabe in his bedroom before expanding into what is now a four-piece band featuring Rich Mandel and Phoebe Cross from another pop-punk band, Happy Accidents, whom are currently signed to Alcopop Records, and Catherine Woods from Fresh. I suppose the interesting thing to say about this album is that it contains 52 songs, most of which are just over 30 seconds long, with the longest being the opening track Hydrogen at 1 minute 14 seconds. The songs sync up to form a one continuous piece of music with no definitive beginning, middle or end. However, the intention is for people to play the album on shuffle so that there's an almost infinite number of creations that can be created. The band were supposedly influenced by the symbolism found in the, and I know that I'm not going to pronounce this properly, alchemical? That's not pronounced properly.
Alchemical?
Alchemical? A book, man. A book called Splendor Solace, written by Salomon Trishmosin back in 1582. They decided to challenge themselves to write a song split up into a series of short cells, all of which are for time and in B flat major. The band have also released a pack of cards created by Jono Gatz, with each representing each of the songs on the album, which I thought was a pretty cool merchandise, like a pretty cool idea. So I think the idea is that you would draw out four songs or whatever, four cards, and then that obviously syncs up to the tracks, and you can just create songs.
That's quite cool. Like I didn't realize that existed, but when you listen to this album on Spotify, you know, you get those little visualizations on some tracks, like on albums and stuff when the songs play.
Yeah.
On Megabear, every song has got one of those cards.
All right.
Comes up in the background. They look a bit like sort of tarot cards or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think, and they've got like unique artwork for each song. So yeah, that's pretty cool. I didn't know that was an actual thing you could buy though.
It's pretty cool. The album itself is available on both the Big Scary Monsters merch page as well as the band's own Bandcamp page. It's available as a blue 12-inch vinyl, which is the one that I've got. Really looking forward to getting that. It comes complete with an exclusive cover and a specially created track list order, which, as we were saying before we started recording, I'm assuming might be downloadable, because if it's on vinyl, it's going to make it kind of hard to kind of jump.
I move the needle about. Yeah.
Aye.
It must be. It must be. Yeah.
It must be. It'll come. Most vinyls come with free downloads now, anyway, don't they? So I suppose even if you've got the free download, then you can then kind of listen to the specially created lists on your laptop or on your phone, as opposed to on your record player. The band are also supposed to be playing the Stag and Dagger Festival in Glasgow in November as well, which is like a multi-venue music festival in Glasgow. I don't know if that's still going ahead though, because I was trying to find information about it online, and there's a few websites that I went to said that it was postponed, but I'm not 100% sure whether or not it's not.
I've had tickets for the Edinburgh version of that for like I mean it was obviously supposed to happen last year, but couldn't go ahead, and it was then rearranged for this November. I think it's on at the same time as the Glasgow one, but
Right.
I think it's different acts, but it's the same idea, like lots of different venues across the city.
How much was the tickets, just out of interest?
Cheap, like
Was it, eh?
£8 to £10, something like that, for like 2 days of music.
Fuck, that's really good.
Yeah,
That's really good.
yeah, it was really cheap.
I've got a feeling that they're playing. It's like I think it's like the second week in November in Glasgow.
Aye, good. Sounds about right. Sounds about right.
So yeah, with regards to the album itself, I suppose I would have to say that I kind of instantly fell in love with this album. Really enjoyed it, and out of all the kind of music that we were kind of been reviewing this month, I would say that this is the album that I've listened to the most. If I'm honest, I've yet to kind of play around with the track listing.
Yeah.
Because I quite enjoyed just listening to it as is. To be honest, there were times where it kind of got a bit samey. Well, samey's not the right word. Sometimes did kind of feel as if it was going on a bit, but then as the songs are only like 30 seconds long, you know what I mean? Like it's fine.
The whole album is only half an hour, like
Yeah,
just over half an hour, but it feels more like one long song than it does an album of different songs, because you've got these sort of specific pieces that return
yeah,
multiple times, which can be slightly repetitive, but some of those bits are so good that you don't really care how many times they come back, and it's just like, it's almost like a chorus on a song, but it happens like, you know, 10 tracks later or something. It's quite weird
yeah.
having those 50 odd different tracks.
Aye, because you could see. I think it'll be interesting to see what the specially created playlist looks like. Because yeah, you're absolutely right. You know what I mean? There are certain lyrics and themes that are repeated on quite a number of occasions throughout the course of the album, and I suppose my thinking would be that you just kind of get all of them together. You know what I mean? Like so, there's I think that like the lyrics on Tin, which I think is maybe like the second track or whatever, and those on kind of Weaving Clothes is this kind of idea or theme of a river and of parties or of a kind of party coming to an end. They're repeated quite a few occasions.
Yeah, the vocals and the lyrics on Tin, I think are, I mean, it's the second track, but I think it's my favourite, like, of the sort of melodies and the vocals. And whenever that comes back, it's just like immediately start singing along to it. It's just really, really catchy.
It is really catchy, man. It's really catchy. Yeah, I would. My two favorite tracks are Ancient Ash and Moon Rising. I just love I just love the melody on both those tracks, and I think they kind of meld together really well. I would say that the album's quite emotive and expressive. I think that there's probably I would say that there's quite a great deal of depth into the lyrics on this album. I kind of get that impression anyway. Kind of doing the research for the album, I know we kind of mentioned earlier on, like the kind of themes or returning lyrics of the kind of river and the party and what have you. I think the lyrics with regards to the river is I want the river to run through me, carve out a valley, deep, 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 make me shallow, make me empty, make me clean. This is me kind of probably speaking a lot of shite, to be honest with you, Sneds, but I'm going to go for it anyway. I kind of seen as almost like kind of, a process of rebirth, cleansing yourself, kind of past transgressions, etc., and making yourself anew. And if you go onto the Merex website and kind of look at their kind of about bit blurb, I think the kind of lead singer Miles McCabe has kind of went through his own struggles kind of mental health and addiction, what have you. So I don't know if maybe some of this is kind of came to a fore or what have you when writing this album. You know, the theme of the party coming to an end as well. That seems to be a kind of reoccurring theme throughout the course of the album. I've kind of described it as possibly being an allegory for kind of life itself. But then towards the album's end, you know, I know I'm getting like kind of a bit ahead of myself, but kind of towards the album's end, he kind of talks about like the party's still going, but all my friends are here now. You know what I mean? Like it's almost like he's left that one party and got to this new one, and it's much better. You know what I mean? It's more enjoyable. I don't know. I'm just having no.
I mean, I get the whole kind of cleansing kind of idea from Tin, but I haven't really delved too much into the lyrics that hard. But I would agree with you, there's definitely a lot of depth to the lyrics to be found. I just haven't gone that hard in on it to kind of try and unpack that. I think you could spend a lot of time trying to do that and trying to figure out the like best combination of the lyrics and the different musical themes and how they all fit together and all that sort of stuff. I think there's a lot you could spend a lot of time trying to figure this album out, I think. And it might be different depending on the way you choose to order the vocals and the lyrics, I suppose. But you mentioned Ancient Ash, and there's no point in talking about every track because we'd be here for hours.
Yeah.
But Ancient Ash, one of my favourite bits is there's a sort of lyrical homage to the Bangles' Manic Monday, where he talks about
it's just another Axis Monday.
And it's I really like that bit. I mean, it's a couple of seconds, but
and then I think it immediately goes into Moon Rising, to be honest. I think it's the very end. Yeah, I think so.
And I was kind of boggled my mind as to how he's gone about naming 52 tracks, but I wonder if a lot of them have come from, like, I mean, you know, that book you were talking about and the periodic table or whatever, because there are sort of elements and things that the tracks are named after, like lead and tin.
Yeah, if you look at the book, like if you look at like I mean, I just went to the book's Wikipedia page. It's got like pictures, you know, or illustrations from the book, and that's obviously where they got the inspiration from for the cards. So I don't know what order they decided to come up with all these names or whatever. You know, I don't know what influenced what, if that makes sense.
Yeah, there's synths and stuff on and electronics and stuff on this, but I would say that the majority of it is like driven along by Miles McCabe's vocals and his piano. For the most part, I think that those are the two most prominent things on the album.
Yeah, and I would say that like I quite like how not all of the lyrics are sung per se. It's not like he doesn't kind of speak them in the same way that, say, like, you know, like on albums like Cheek Face, or like, say, on like Calling the Crash Team, like the LYR album. It's maybe more in keeping with like maybe the kind of Ghosteen. You know, that there is a kind of timbre to his vocal delivery, which for me, you know what I mean, I quite enjoyed, because I think it means you can kind of pick out the lyrics a bit more effectively than when they're sung sometimes.
Yeah, I think his vocals are pretty good.
Yeah,
for the most part. Like, they're maybe a wee bit nasal, but they don't get too like whiny. Like, that can sometimes be a bit too whiny, but I think they're fine. There's occasions when he puts a little bit more like bite in his vocal. That's you know pretty effective. There's maybe the kind of odd like key change that is a wee bit jarring here and there, but for the most part, it's a pretty good vocal performance. And I think it's all about the melody for me. Like, the lyrics almost take a back seat for me, and it's just the melodies that kind of the melodies of the piano, the vocals, the electronics and the synths. Sometimes there's guitars in there, maybe not that often, but and yeah, I think there are some bits that are definitely weaker than others, but there are lots of like really fantastic moments. And like I said before, it feels like one long song, and you when a bit comes back, and it's sometimes exactly the same, almost exactly the same as it was before. Other times it's got a slightly different instrumentation under it and stuff, but it's always memorable when those bits do come back in.
Yeah, yeah. What I will say though is, and I can't get this out of my head. So remember I mentioned Imogen Heap earlier on.
Yes.
Do you know you don't know any of her tracks, do you?
I, I mean, I know the name, but I mean, I may know some songs, but I couldn't name you an Imogen Heap song.
So I think one of her biggest singles is Hide and Seek.
Okay.
Probably means nothing to you. But it was featured or it was sampled in a Jason Derulo song called What You Say.
Right.
Yeah. And there's a couple instrumental tracks on this album. And I don't know if it's the key changes or whatever. It might just be a couple of notes here and there. But like for whatever reason I kept hearing Jason Derulo. That song, I just kept hearing it. So in particular, Ursa Major and I can't remember. There was a few because there's just this returning melody played throughout the course of the album, and that's all I kept hearing. That's all I could think of. Not in a bad way. It didn't turn me off to the album. Sorry.
Not a detriment to your
It
experience.
wasn't a detriment at all. In fact, it enhanced my experience. all I could think of is Jason Derulo. Do you know? I think that's how he starts all of his songs. By the way,
Why not?
well, I suppose it's his gig, isn't it? Fuck him.
Good a way to start a song as any. It's like Daniel Bedingfield, isn't it? Daniel Bedingfield.
Did he actually do that?
No, I don't think he did. But
That was Bo Selector, wasn't it?
yeah, or Craig David. Craig David. Craig David.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a perfectly acceptable way to open your song.
Would
Announcing your name.
if you were in that same position, would you do the same? Would you introduce yourself as Christopher Snedden, or would you go for the full name?
It doesn't have it's got too many syllables in it. It doesn't
Christopher Snedden.
it sounds too formal. It doesn't sound like a great melodious sounding name. Not in a song anyway.
Maybe just say it before you start speaking in general conversation. Introduce yourself.
Well, I mean, I think people do that in general at gigs.
Did I tell you? Did I tell you about what happened to me at work? I don't know if I can. Yeah, fuck it. I'm sure I can say this. I'll change your name slightly. It's a nurse. It's not as if it's a patient, so it's okay. So we were short staffed, and this woman came in, and something had happened on the ward with the kind of staff team. Something quite bad, which I'm sure I've told you about, but I'm not going to go into here. So people were a bit out of sorts anyway. And this, I'm just gonna tell you her name. This woman came in and she introduced herself as Sandra Jones. Okay,
Okay.
yeah. So she was like, "Hello, I'm Sandra Jones." So I just assumed incorrectly that her name was like Sandra Jones Smith. You know how like you get these like Sarah Marie and stuff like that.
You thought her name was hyphenated, like double barrel.
Yeah, exactly. So I spent the whole fucking night being like, okay, Sandra Jones, let's go over here. Okay, Sandra Jones, it's time to do the meds now. Okay, Sandra Jones, if you just write the notes for that person. And like the nursing assistant I was on with was like, she knew that like her name was just Sandra and her surname was Jones, but because everybody was a bit out of sorts, she just kind of left me to it, or just thought that I would pick up on it eventually. And I mean, we started at 7 o'clock, and I don't think the woman herself told me till about 11 o'clock at night that her name was just Sandra. I was like, great.
And she like, how patronising is this guy?
It's like me saying to you, right, okay, Christopher Snedden, let's do this now. Okay, Christopher Snedden, let's start the podcast. You know what I mean? That's what it was like. But by the same token, in my defence, who the fuck does she think she is? James Bond? Like who fucking comes onto a ward and or introduces themselves by giving their full name anyway?
Well, she didn't introduce herself as Jones, Sandra Jones, so you can't compare her to James Bond.
Well, I'll give you that, man. But like, I wouldn't walk up to somebody and be like, "Hi there, my name's Grant Patterson." It's just Grant.
Yeah, I guess so. I thought when you started that story, you were going to say that you were communicating to her all night just by speaking your name, like a Pokemon or something. Grant Patterson. Grant Patterson.
Well, I'm night shift tomorrow, man, so who knows? That's...
Just communicate only by saying your name.
Like Pikachu.
Like, exactly like Pikachu.
Yeah, sorry, we kind of went off topic a wee bit there.
Just a little bit, yeah.
Just a tad. So, Megabear, what'd you give it, man?
What have I given it? I've lost
Lost your notes.
I have given it an 8 out of 10. I think it's like a really good kind of rousing, emotional, like brand of like I suppose indie rock, but
yeah,
it's got lots. I think it's described as sort of bedroom pop, but it's a bit more than what that that sounds a bit twee and a bit shit, but this is a lot better than that sounds.
Yeah, it's I get that. I mean, yeah, it doesn't sound as if it's been recorded in the bedroom, but I understand that is almost like in a genre in and of itself nowadays. I think 8 is a fair rating. I've given it a 9 though, just because I did really enjoy it. I think you're right. It's a really kind of expressive, emotive, rousing album. I think it's a really kind of interesting, ambitious project as well. Yeah, and I think they've kind of managed it. They've managed to execute it really well. I don't really have anything bad to say about it, other than that there's sometimes we're a bit like, oh, this is maybe going on a wee bit, but as I said, it wasn't enough to kind of put me off. And I'm kind of looking forward to getting this specially curated playlist so I can kind of monkey about with the different songs and see what it's like.
Yeah. But I think we feel pretty similarly about the album. Okay, so that was Megabear by Me Rex.
I want a river to run through me, carve out a valley deep, deep, deep. The air is thick, our bodies pulse and swell and sting. I was led back to your side, down quiet streets I did not recognize. The buildings are so tall here, they almost reach to heaven. Some kind of poison leached into the soil here, and it bleeds into the seeds in the smoke. In your coat, in your crown, in your hospital gown, 7 days, 7 ties, set in stone for the night. 'Cause I see deep, 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 deep cracks in what once seemed so concrete. Buildings are a blur to me, like white mountains of mercury.
It's not finished. It's finished.